Go.
These are some of the basics of the Spanish language. So we're going to be going over um, the different subjects or pronouns, different types of verbs that you'll encounter, and the verb ser and estar. And then these are to get you ready to go into a Spanish class, or if you want to do, like, take a Spanish course online or something. So the first thing you need to know is subjects, which are more commonly known as pronouns. So that would be I, you, he, she, we, they. But in Spanish, we do feminine and masculine. So, and that applies to pronouns as well. So we have obviously he and she, which is él and ella. But we also have we and they are split into masculine and feminine. So these are groups. So when you have a group of all females, you would use the feminine, like nosotras, if you're in a group of all females. But if there's one male in a group of like females, you would use nosotros instead. As long as there's one male, then it ruins everything, and you have to use the masculine pronoun. That applies to they as well. Also, in Spanish, we have a formal and informal you and they. So over here, the informal is tú. You would use this for when you're talking to like a loved one or something, or someone you know really well, but you wouldn't use it for like just someone on the street. What you would use instead is usted. You would use this for teachers, bosses, someone older than you. Sometimes in families, if they're really formal, a lot of Mexican families will use usted to refer to their grandmother. So that's how you would use those pronouns. And then that also applies to a group of people. So if you're like a teacher in a classroom and you're referring to your students, you say ustedes. So verb conjugation, the reason we use verb conjugation in Spanish is each conjugation of the verbs goes to one of those pronouns that we just talked about. So you'll encounter three different types of verbs, and those are AR, ER, and IR verbs. And this is the ending of the verb. All verbs will have one of these three endings. So to use these endings, we match it up to the pronouns. So if you're talking about yourself, you would use the ending o. So this is like I live is yo vivo. And then if you're saying you live, it'd be tú vivas. And it just keeps on going through the conjugations. And you never mix the conjugation with the pronoun. Like you can't go yo vive. Okay, so some examples of those verb conjugations. We have the AR, ER, and IR verbs, so you know the ending of each of the verbs. And they have all the different endings on them too. So you have like bailar is to dance. So if you say I dance, it would be bailo. And then you dance is bailas. Yeah, so these when you see the IR, ER, and AR, those are called infinitive verbs. Those are the very basic form of the verb. Those are like to dance, to drink, to write, which is the translation of all these. So if you go, I'm going to go would be the infinitive verb. Okay, so two verbs that we have in Spanish are ser and estar, and they both mean to be. So this would be I am, you are, all of those conjugations. But we have two of them in Spanish, and they cannot be interchanged. You have to use this one for this scenario and the other one for a different scenario. So ser is used when you're talking about date, occupation, characteristics, time, origin, and relationships. It's one of the more permanent ones because you will always be like, your origin will always be like, I am from Kansas. It will always be that way. Or the characteristics would be like, I am a girl. Like that would be the characteristics. For a star, it's a little bit more loosey-goosey, I guess you could say. We talk about position, location, action, condition, and emotion. This is when it's not permanent. So like position, I can be right here next to the TV, but then over here, I am next to the chair. It is constantly changing. So some of the conjugations, these are weird verbs. They are different verbs, so they're conjugated differently. We have a lot of those in Spanish. But for ser, we go soy, eres, es, somos, and son. So that still applies to those pronouns. So it would be yo soy, tú eres, and then if you're saying he is, it'd be él es, nosotros somos, and ellas son. And then estar is estoy, estás, está, estamos, and está. And that is it. Thank you.